Wayland-Yutani. Since its founding, this company has sought to seize all power. Like a parasite that is never satisfied, they control planet Earth and continue to expand among the stars. Tessa and Thea were created precisely as tools to continue this galactic conquest, using more than just intelligence as a weapon, but also emotions.
Where's Thea?
The Yautja has Thea.
The planet Genna is extremely dangerous, and no Yautja has ever been able to defeat the mythical creature that inhabits that planet, the Kalisk. What makes this monster so dangerous is its ability to regenerate, rendering it nearly immortal. In Predator Badlands, it is explained that Tessa and her sister Thea are state-of-the-art androids with the capacity to feel, which would be a useful tool for them on Genna. However, in reality, Wayland-Yutani had created these androids to lie and manipulate. Thea and Tessa spent 2 years on Genna studying the Kalisk, but they were unable to capture it. During a confrontation with the creature, the androids were severely damaged and separated. The damage Tessa sustained left her offline, and Thea was ripped in half, literally. Later, Deck finds Thea, and Tessa is found and rebuilt by Wayland-Yutani. When Thea is revived, the first thing she asks is where Thea is. She is still out there alone, and it is for her sister that Tessa returns to the hellish jungles of Genna. But Tessa is informed that her sister was not alone. She is with the Yautja. Thea knew all about the Yautja, their civilization and customs, how they used other species for their experiments, and how they hunted as part of their rituals and ideologies. The Yautja are barbaric creatures, and when Tessa found Thea, she was fighting with the creature against the Kalisk. Fast forward to the film's climactic battle, Tessa manages to kill the Kalisk, destroying the creature from within with an ice bomb. She is then destroyed by the Yautja and her sister Thea. Tessa's skull is taken as a trophy by Deck and brought to Yautja Prime as proof and a rite of passage into Deck's clan. Predator Badlands ends with Deck and Thea on the Yautja home planet, but as we mentioned in previous videos, Thea is with Deck for ulterior motives. If Thea was created as an android specializing in manipulation, perhaps it's no coincidence that she switched sides and joined a Yautja and betrayed her sister. Thea continues her mission to find something of value for the megacorporation, even if she's unaware of it. Now Thea has become a tracking device for the company, a beacon, and it's only a matter of time before we see an army of synthetics arriving at the Yautja homeworld. But the megacorporation won't blindly send its soldiers into war. Wayland-Yutani may rebuild Tessa with her memories and experience intact. When Tessa was rebuilt, the mother computer surely made a backup of her just in case. The experience Tessa had from her years on Genna wasn't lost. Every moment she shared with Thea, every creature they studied on Genna, and even when they were attacked by the Kalisk, every memory on that planet was stored in the computer, ready to be copied onto another body. Tessa could be rebuilt to lead an army of androids to invade Yautja Prime. That's one way to bring her back. Now you might think this doesn't make sense, because Tessa failed her mission. Why would the mother computer bring her back? Recall that in Predator Badlands, it was mentioned that Thea and Tessa knew everything about the Yautja. Thea's comment on that fact was quite suspicious. Why do Thea and Tessa know so much about the Yautja? This leads me to believe that it wasn't by chance that Thea encountered Deck in Genna. Both Thea and Tessa were searching for something more important than the Kalisk. Their purpose was to become allies of the Yautja to find their way to Yautja Prime. And if our suspicion is confirmed to be true, Tessa will return, because she is an android created to learn everything about the Yautja to conquer them. But why does Wayland-Yutani want to invade Yautja Prime? The answer is simple. Since ancient times, there have been legends of how the Yautja have used Earth as their hunting grounds, how humans were hunted by these gods from space. Wayland-Yutani seeks to oppose the Yautja. It is humanity rising to fight against a threat that has existed for thousands of years. The fight between the corporation and the hunters is inevitable, because Wayland-Yutani in turn is the result of the Yautja's intervention on Earth. A destructive force will always create an equal opposing destructive force. Much of the tech Wayland-Yutani has is thanks to reverse-engineered predator tech, and so Wayland-Yutani takes the most destructive ideas of humanity and the Yautja and combines them with an economic structure to become a bigger predator. The clash between these two parties is inevitable, and the outlook is not in the Yautja's favor. The world of Predator and Alien is heading towards a battle between biological beings and synthetics, and it is only a matter of time before we see Tessa's return, leading the synthetics in the invasion of Yautja Prime. Just as the Yautja used Earth as a hunting ground, their home planet will soon become the hunting ground of the new capitalist god, Wayland-Yutani. Since the beginning, Wayland-Yutani used alien technology found on Earth, so it's not surprising to see the company create synthetics to counter outer world threats. The reason Thea and Tessa have feelings might not have been to fight the Kalisk. Their purpose from the beginning was to be the perfect weapon to manipulate the predators. It makes sense, since Thea is possibly the first non-Yautja to reach Yautja Prime, thus making Thea the villain in this story.
We might not be alone in this hunt.
Was it Thea's goal to betray Dek from the start? Are there clues in the film that point to this? Dek finds Thea hanging from a wreck after her encounter with the Kalisk, just another victim of the dangerous planet. Later, she ends up joining Dek and Bud, a baby Kalisk. And there is the main clue that suggests that Thea never told Dek the truth. If the Kalisk have babies, and Wayland-Yutani's androids have been on Genna for 2 years studying the fauna, how is it possible that they never found out about the offspring and captured it? If the Kalisk was truly the corporation's main objective, Thea could have secured the baby creature long before Dek arrived on the planet. That points to something else. The Kalisk wasn't Wayland-Yutani's real objective. It was the consolation prize, an unexpected find that Tessa and Thea discovered. So what was the main mission? Would you believe me if I told you that in the movie, Thea left one other big clue as to what her true mission was? That clue is the fact that Thea discloses to Dek that she has studied the Yautja. In previous videos, we've discussed how suspicious this is. Why would Wayland-Yutani have so much information about the predators? And why give that data to Thea and Tessa before sending them to Genna, where the planet's apex predator is a creature that even the Yautja couldn't hunt? Considering that the location of the Yautja home planet is a mystery, or almost impossible to travel to, Thea's encounter with Dek sounds less like a coincidence and more like a calculated move. Thea and the others were not sent to Genna for the planet's resources. They were there for something else. Thea was bait, a perfect hook for the predators to then be used. The plan was simple. Thea had to present herself in a weak and vulnerable state and be useful to the predator. Thea becomes a guide, an assistant, an ally, and a translator for Dek, helping him survive Genna. Tessa's supposed death at the end of the film could also be part of the Wayland-Yutani mother computer's plan, giving Dek a false victory to make him believe that Thea was useful and thus manipulate him. The ending of Predator Badlands shows Thea and Dek on the Yautja homeworld, a place where no human has ever been. Thea has accomplished her true objective. Now the next Predator film could show how Thea betrays Dek again, how it will be revealed that it was all planned by Wayland-Yutani to use an android to trick a predator and take the android to their planet. Thea has always been the villain because she was a trap set by Wayland-Yutani to capture the predators and invade their planet. If the next Predator movie shows Wayland-Yutani invading Yautja Prime, that could spell the end for the other worlds. Wayland-Yutani with Yautja technology could become the greatest threat the universe has ever faced. And it all revolves around a synthetic who may be manipulating the predator and is just waiting to betray him. Thea is a tool of Wayland-Yutani, programmed to gain the predator's trust, infiltrate Yautja Prime, and remain there, awaiting her final order. She is a time bomb, a Trojan horse, designed to blow up at a precise moment and destroy everything the Yautja have built. Thea, an android, is the biggest threat to the Yautja, the true predator.
The alpha isn't the wolf who kills the most. He is the one who best protects the pack.
So what do you think? Is Thea the villain and the bait for Wayland-Yutani to invade Yautja Prime?
I'm synthetic. I was built and deployed by the Wayland-Yutani Corporation for research. We found that...
I don't know what I am.
The androids, like Wendy and Thea, are state-of-the-art robots capable of blending in among humans. Only the ultra-powerful corporations use these type of androids because their public use is illegal. An android cannot pretend to be a human. This is why David was so important to Wayland-Yutani. He was one of the first synthetics to seek a purpose for himself, and that violated multiple laws of robotics. In Alien Earth, we were very early on introduced to a synthetic with feelings and emotions, and then another one in Predator Badlands. Both Wendy and Thea seem to be similar models, androids that are nearly impossible to determine whether they are human or not, with abilities that surpass what should be legally possible. This leads us to today's theory, the idea that Thea could be a contingency plan created by Wayland to use against Wendy and Prodigy. The moment Prodigy created Wendy, Wayland-Yutani's alarm bells went off. Wendy is the first existential threat to Wayland-Yutani's business model. She is the first synthetic with feelings. Therefore, the most obvious response would be to create a competing model. A synthetic, emotional, effective in combat, and capable of blending in among humans, making them believe she is human. Officially, Wendy is a human in a synthetic body. That is what Prodigy reported and what they convinced Wendy of being. However, Wayland-Yutani isn't so oblivious or naive. They know that Wendy is a synthetic that is breaking the rules for Prodigy to gain market advantage, and Wayland's response is to do the same, to build a more advanced synthetic that surpasses Wendy. This is where the stories of Alien Earth and Predator begin to connect. We don't need hunters from space in Alien Earth when there is a predatory megacorporation at home. Wayland-Yutani will build Thea and Tessa, two synthetics who, like Wendy, use feelings to manipulate sentient entities. The connection between both stories is not the creatures from space, but Wayland-Yutani, and the real threat is the synthetics created by greedy humans. Now, theoretically, the version of Thea that might appear in Alien Earth is not the same as the one in Predator Badlands. Most likely, it would be an earlier model of Thea. It was never clarified when Wayland-Yutani created the first female-looking emotional model android, so the timeline and sequence of events remain open to theories and speculations. It wouldn't be a coincidence if, in both Predator Badlands and Alien Earth, Wayland-Yutani would be using female androids with feelings. Furthermore, it would be more like a pattern of recognition. If Wayland-Yutani is making androids similar to those made by Prodigy, then we should see them in future seasons of the show. During the first season of Alien Earth, we theorized how Wayland-Yutani could confront Boy Cavalier. At the time, we thought that a war between the two companies was inevitable, with both companies throwing bombs at one another. But perhaps Wayland's weapon of choice aren't bombs, but two androids designed with a sole purpose: to destroy Prodigy Corporation. And once they have fulfilled their purpose, they are repurposed to travel to the galaxy's most dangerous planet, Genna. Now, why would Thea and Tessa appear in Alien Earth? One of the biggest mysteries of the show is the origin of the creatures, like Teosalis, found on the ship that transported them to Earth, the Maginot. Wayland-Yutani had extracted 5 creatures from deep space before Boy Cavalier intercepted them, but the planet from which these 5 entities originated from was never disclosed. Thea and Tessa could be sent back to the planet from where they caught those creatures once they have dealt with Wendy and Prodigy. And perhaps the 5 creatures' homeworld is none other than Genna, the universe's deadliest planet and home of the Callisk. Alien Earth might not only tie into the events of Predator Badlands, but the series would also function as the film's prequel. Interestingly, the showrunner might not be lying when he claims that he has nothing planned with the Yautja, because the immediate threat isn't the predators, but something far more personal that has grown within the human world, the synthetics. The confrontation between the androids and the xenomorphs has enormous potential. It could be a battle between 2 equal forces, but the twins' side will be the victor, which fits perfectly with them later appearing in Predator Badlands. Will we see Thea and Tessa in Alien Earth? the Yautja Prime, where Dek presents the android Tessa's skull to his clan, claiming it as his trophy. His father considers him a failure for not bringing back the Kalisk's head, and an insult to the Yautja code, and sends his men to kill Dek. Dek easily deals with the guards. He then defeats his father and claims his prize, a Yautja cloak. The death of Dek's father represents the deconstruction of the old Yautja values. The code of honor has been broken, and now Dek must establish his own system or face something worse. The film concludes with a mid-credit scene of Dek and his new clan, watching as a new pack approaches from a distance. Dek reveals to Thea that it is his mother who is coming, leaving the door wide open for a new chapter where Dek must deal with his mother and the darker side of his clan. Appearances of the female Yautja are rare outside of books and comics. Characters such as Big Mama, a Yautja warrior and queen, was introduced in the Predator books as a fundamental figure in Yautja culture. In the comics, Yautja hierarchies are both patriarchal and matriarchal, suggesting that Dek's mother could be a high-ranking leader or even the queen herself. Only time will tell if the adventures of Dek and his clan will continue. So what do you think? Did you see Predator Badlands? Should we make more videos analyzing everything about this movie? I'm a Gloomy Geek, and don't forget to like and subscribe.